everyone, my name is Valencia Coleman. I am an engineer at Alchemy Labs. I'm a Women Games Ambassador. I'm an IGDA Foundation alumni, and I'm also in the game industry. And I'm here to talk about my journey into the game industry. And before we get started, some of the key takeaways of this talk. So you'd be like, what's the point of listening about your journey? So next slide. Key takeaways. I want to give my journey into game industry to inspire others. The game industry is a lot interesting right now. We'll talk about that later. And so if my journey can help others, then I'm going to tell it. And tips on how to navigate the game industry. There's a lot of stuff I didn't learn in college, and you're not going to learn in college until you're actually in the industry. So I decided to talk about my journey, kind of like the hero's journey. Let's start with the beginning. I graduated from Columbus State University in 2020. Yay! Woo! Columbus State University. Boo, 2020. I got a bachelor's in computer science game programming. I was like, yeah, I'm ready to get in the industry, and that's not true. So wait just a second here. I was like, that's not true. And so I was like, how I'm going to get into games? I'm in Columbus State. I'm nowhere near Atlanta. There's a global pandemic. How I'm going to do that? So next one. I was completely unsure about how to get into the game industry. I was like, what am I supposed to do? I don't know what I'm going to do. So just being confused and lost in my room. And so what I decided to do, next slide, get a job in the non-gaming field. And what I actually recommend that, I think me getting a job in a non-gaming field really did prepare me for the game industry. Before I get to the next slide, I just want to say that I feel like I would not have been prepared for the game industry when I graduated college. Not saying college isn't great. I love college. I'm getting my master's right now. I feel like I would not have been prepared professionally for all the teamwork building, things I did to get prepared for the industry. I was not like that in college when I first graduated. And we're going to see. Next slide. So I was unsure. I got my non-gaming IT job. I was like, but I still want to be in games. I badly want to be in games. And so I just started shopping my engineering skills. I wanted to make gameplay. I wanted to make mechanics. And I was all like, okay, what do I got to do to kind of hone in my skills? So what I did was use the beautiful thing called Google. And I was like, let me Google how to become an engineer in the industry. And so I started sharpening my skills. I started creating my own games in various game engines. I also started, keep going, using Unity, a lot of Unity, and using Unreal, and also using, I put Godot, but Godot is one of them as well recently. So basically, I suggest learning various engines. When you get into the game industry, you're not going to know what engine they're using. Sometimes they use proprietary engines. So knowing how to code in multiple engines is awesome. I always suggest to people being kind of a T-shaped developer. Be really, really good at one engine. For me, that's Unity, and I'm slowly learning Unreal. I'm really good at Unity, but if you told me to code Unreal today, I can do it. So it might take me a little longer, but I can do it. And that's what I really suggest when you're going into the game industry. I can take questions during my talk, yes.
Hey, questions in the microphone. Don't do anything.
Yes.
You just said be a T-shaped developer, but you only used L because you said Unreal, but then you're really deep in Unity.
Oh, Unreal, Godot is also WebP.
That's the other T.
Oh, that's also part of the T.
Thank you.
WebP, which uses Python.
Which one?
WebP, which uses Python.
She's a 3D T.
I'm a
Yes.
3D T.
Yes.
So Python's used to make visual novels and make various games. I even made RPG Maker games. I made all sorts of engines. And my engine knowledge got me into game jams. Game jams are super, super fun. I went on, next one, itch.io. So itch.io is a great place to meet new people and do a game jam. You guys have ever heard of a game jam? Yeah. A game jam is when you spend like a weekend or a week. Now that I'm more experienced in the industry, I like week-long ones where you just make a game with a bunch of people. Sometimes you know them, sometimes you don't. And it really does give you that game development feeling. And I enjoy game jams. I feel like because of game jams, I was able to publish a lot more games on itch.io, and that created a portfolio for me. And I did all this while working a non-gaming job. Hint, hint. I did all this while working a job not in the industry. So that is one thing I suggest. Next slide. And I constantly studied courses in like Udemy and Unity Learn. I was with the tutors. I was constantly learning. Just gonna let you guys know, if you're not willing to learn, just don't get in this industry. That sounds really harsh. That sounds really mean. But that's really honest. If you're not willing to learn or adapt or evolve, this is not an industry for you. Go be somewhere else that you'll be much happier at. Because we're always adapting, we're always evolving. I'm still learning. I'm still not comfortable on Unreal. I'm still going to learn Unreal. Because if I want to keep my place in the industry, I got to constantly be adapting. Kind of similar to Bob's talk. Next one. So yes, Udemy, Unity Learn, these are all things I use to learn all these things. Indie Game Academy, wait just 1 second. So Indie Game Academy was actually a group of people, awesome group of people, that were just getting people together to learn how to make games in this little virtual space called Gather. And these are all virtual. This was during 2020. I could not go in person for all this. They still exist to this day. You do not have to travel right to do these things. And in Indie Game Academy, I met some awesome people. We ended up making some games together. And it was amazing. It was great. I didn't really meet them to my first GDC ever. But we already made like several games together. And Indie Game Academy, I just want to shout out to them because they were the, Willem, the person over it. I was making a game, like a text-based adventure. I was like, well, it's not perfect yet. It's not ready yet. I can't publish it yet. It's not ready. And he said, publish it. He said, go ahead and put it out there. If you wait to it to be perfect, you're never going to put it out there. Which is very true, because I was never going to put that text-based game out there. I'm still working on it. I'm still making it, but now there's a demo out there. And now I know people are going to like it. And now I know people who actually want me to finish it. And now I have feedback on it. Put your stuff out there even when you think it's not ready. At least for free. Don't make people pay for it. Don't do a AAA route. So put it out there so you can get feedback. Get play testing. And what else did I do to sharpen my engineering skills? Next slide. I'm at school to study game design. I'm currently a graduate student at SCAG studying game design because I realized something. I could program the game great. That game functioned amazing. I was almost bug-free. You can jump and move, and it was dull. It was boring. That was the most boring game I ever made. And I was like, why are all my games so boring? Because they're so mathematical and logical, and they were dull, and they were boring, and I hated them. I was like, I should probably learn some game design. So I should probably be able to design my game, because then it will be fun. Gameplay engineers are a mixture of both, by the way. We program the game. We also help with the game design. We're mostly programmers, but we need game design expertise to make our game actually, like, fun. So next slide. There's some networking on the industry. Still in 2020 and 2021. I'm still not out there going out and meeting people in person. I'm so glad we can do that now. But just letting you guys know, I did all this from the little corner shell in my room in my house. I did all this when I was not going out and meeting people. And you can too. So next one. Yeah. I applied for mentorship programs. My mentor, shout out to him, Mark, he is amazing. And when I applied for those mentorship programs, it made me realize gameplay engineering was a thing. Because I kept saying, I want to be a programmer. I want to be a programmer. So in the game industry is going to be like, yeah, Ann, do you know how many types of programmers there are? I didn't know that. I was like, I just want to program a game. And my man's like, you want to be a gameplay engineer. I was like, what is that? There are different types of engineers. And there are different types of engineers. There's tools, there's platforming, there's physics engineers. There's so many different types of engineering in the game industry. You need to find out which one's your niche. And I found out mine by trying all of them and hating half of them. I was like, I like gameplay, and that's the only one I like. I can do the others. Again, t-shirt developer. I can do the other ones that I really need to. I found the one I like the most, though, which is gameplay. What else? The next one. Yep, that's how I mentioned IGDA Foundation Virtual Exchange. I am now the alumni coordinator. The virtual exchange is happening soon. You guys stay connected with me, so you guys will be part of it. But basically, through the IGDA Foundation Virtual Exchange, I was paired with someone from Google. That's what's how I Mark. And he gave me coding tests. And I failed every single one constantly. And it was terrible. And I was like, I'm never going to get a game industry. And I cried in my corner. And he was like, it's okay. You just graduated college like a year ago. You're just going to grad school. You're not going to know everything. You still ain't going to know everything. I am now an engineer and getting paid to do it. And I still don't know everything. It's okay. Coding tests are really hard. And fun fact, when I learned my coding tests are going to be hard in the actual job sometimes because they want to make sure you really know your stuff. So through the foundation, I met some cool people and I learned so many different things. Another mentorship program I went was Xbox Game Camp. Xbox Game Camp in Atlanta, it actually came here in Atlanta. And that was my first in-person meeting. I met people from Xbox and Microsoft. And this lady was Grace. Yes, shout out to Grace if you're watching. But she told me, hey, you're programming games, you're making games, you're doing all this stuff, and you're not applying for jobs. I was like, well, I'm not ready. And she's like, funniest thing she told me, people out there with a resume and a dream, and you got games, and you got portfolios, and you know people, and you're talking to people from Microsoft. You don't apply for darn jobs. So I started applying, and the Xbox Game Camp really pushed me to start doing things. So you guys are going to learn several lessons out here. Taking initiative is one thing I did in my game journey. Also, I joined various game development communities and was very active in them. So you can go through the communities real quick. Such as IGDA, Indie Game Academy, Women in Games, Black Game, Work with Indies. All of those are organizations I joined during the pandemic. So this was all virtual. And when it's virtual, it's a lot easier to not be active. I'm pretty sure you guys have joined playing Discords and said absolutely nothing in them except hello. That's not how you network in the game industry. You got to interact. For example, Women in Games have weekly questions. I started answering those weekly questions, getting to know people, getting people to talk to those people, being like, hey, you want to make a game jam with me? And then I knew people in Women in Games. Just did a whole expo with them when I did career development and tell people about being in the game industry as a woman. I'm also IGDA. Now I'm one of the IGDA Financial Alumni coordinators, but I didn't start as a coordinator. I started being like, hey, how are you guys doing? I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. I want to be in the game industry. And just talking to people, getting tips from them. And I was just having conversations. Some of them just talked about how much Baldur's Gate was amazing. Baldur's Gate's still amazing. That's why I stayed at 5 a.m. making this slideshow, because I was playing Baldur's Gate. So, Baldur's Gate's amazing. Don't do it if we have to do work assignment. Indie Game Academy, I just talked about them. Black in Gaming. I am Black. So, I am part of Black in Gaming, because I've joined several groups so I could connect with people with. Especially when it comes to like minority groups and diversity groups like I am in. It's hard to find them in the game industry. We're working towards making the game industry more diverse. But it's not that diverse right now. So being part of these groups really made me give a sense of belonging. And also, Georgia Game Developer Association. This group is too. They're in Georgia. I'm in Georgia. It made me a sense of belonging because I really felt like there wasn't no one around me making games. And also, attending game industry events, virtual and in person. Most of these were virtual. Georgia Game Developer Association gave me my first in-person one. Now I go to GDC and more in-person things. And it's so much better in person. But if you can't do in person, because in person is expensive, so you can always do virtual. I always tell people, so what's stopping you from going out there and just talking to people? What's stopping you from going out and just connecting with someone on LinkedIn? Nothing, really. Just press the button. If they don't say anything, move on to the next person. There are plenty of people in the game industry who want to connect with you, me included. And you can find someone to connect with. You'll realize a lot of game developers are very open to connecting with people, especially if you don't want to be in the industry. Next slide. Oh, other events I attended. I know a lot of events. So I'll go back. Game Developers of Color. That was when I attended, and that's how I met the people that I currently work at. Women in Games Career Expo. I just went to that career expo. I met with recruiters, I met with people, and I did all this before applying to jobs. I did all these before I did my first application because I just want to make sure when I put in an application that at least I'll have a lot of people I know. Because the game industry really is who you know. And knowing people is very, very powerful. That's why the game industry is small. We all know each other. Don't make a bad impression because people from other studios know who you are as well. And SiegeCon, that was the one. I love SiegeCon. That was actually my first game development conference.
Start with the best.
Yeah, start with the best. That was my first one when I was here at CSU, I went to it. It was amazing. It made me really solidify that I want to be in games. Fun story, when I went to Siege Karn, I remember being like a junior in college, and I was still uncertain that I could be in the game industry. I'm like, my programs suck. I'm really struggling with computer science. I'm not sure I can be in the game industry. And then when I was at SiegeCon talking to people, I met actually one of the puzzle developers of Telltale Games there, and he was really cool. And I just went into my hotel room and I almost cried. I literally almost cried. I'm like, oh my God, I really feel like I belong here. And I was like, it's so cool. And they were just amazing people. And that's why I really like SiegeCon, my first con ever, and it was awesome. And of course, SimFest. I went to SimFest as well. I went to the very first one because I was a student here. And now I'm speaking there. So going to these events, and not just going and staying in the corner and not talking to anyone, go and talk to people. It's very intimidating, especially as engineering students. A lot of times engineering students are very to themselves, introverted. That's why you like computers more than people. So I like computers more than people. But engineering field in the game industry is very team-based. I talk to my team every single day. I Slack them, I message them. I have a fully remote job, so I have to be actually more communicative than normal. So you gotta talk to people. And like I said, the game industry is who you know, not always about your skill. Your skill is important, but it is about who you know. Next slide. Making, publishing, and marketing my game. I started making, publishing, and marketing, keyword marketing, my game. So I started working with others to make games like IGDA. How do I know those others? Because I network with them and I talk to them. So when I say, hey, let's do a game jam, I don't have to go out to strangers anymore. I literally have a list of people who I can just go and ask, want to make a game together? And it's so much easier because they were strangers at first, and now we're friends. Fun fact, one person I met at Indie Game Academy, me and them are rooming together at GDC, and we're going to GDC together. I would have never met them if I didn't put myself out there and said, hey, let's make a game together. My person who's making one of my indie games, the systems designer, goes to my school. Would never met him if I just would have said nothing. Had to email him and be like, hey, I like my game idea, I want to make it real. You're good at systems. I suck at systems. You want to be friends? And now we're working on games together. We've been working on the game for like 3 years now. And it's really good. It's really great. But that's because I network so I can start working with people. Next one. Marketing myself as an engineer. When my mentor said, you're not a programmer, you're an engineer, that makes people know what you know, you're talking about in the industry. So I was like, hey, I'm an engineer. I went on my LinkedIn and I put, I'm a gameplay engineer, an aspiring one. Not even aspiring one, that I was one. Because I'm not aspiring, I'm making games. I wasn't professionally doing it, but I was doing it. So I put Valencia Coleman, gameplay engineer, open to work, because that's what I was. Even though I wasn't professionally making them yet, I was making them. So, and also, use my itch.io as my portfolio. I don't have a website. I probably should get one day, but I use itch.io right now because itch.io, what's great about it, you can just see my name, see what my summary description of it is, and then you can click on my game, you can play it. And I have a fun story about that. Not yet. When I was making a game and I was getting interviewed at my current job that I work at, in the interview, they were playing my game. Like, right there in the interview. They were just like, hey, so I was playing your game and I found a bug in the interview. And I was like, oh, that's cool. How would you fix that? Yeah. Hey, I didn't know that bug existed until you just mentioned it. And also, this is my interviewer. And I was like, oh, but I was confident in my knowledge, so I knew how to fix it. That's the reason they asked that, because they knew I was the one programming it. Yes. So they knew that, hey, she just realized this bug happened, and she knew immediately how a solution for it. That tells me she's good for our team. Next slide. And so use itch.io as a portfolio. That is my itch.io. The reason I say itch.io, because now you know how to go make a website. There's really no excuse not for you to go on itch.io, create an account. It's right there for you, and put games on there. There is no excuse for you not to do that. And again, these are all from the comfort of my home. I did not go anywhere when doing this. This is during 2021, 2022. And next one. And I started making posts on LinkedIn about my game. So what I did, again, come from my home, I started following recruiters. I started connecting with people I met online. I started seeing what they were doing. And I posted my things. So every time I made a game, every time I had a devlog out, people knew that I was doing it. And at first, no one was looking, and I felt confident in that. Cool, I could just post and no one's going to see anything. And it's not like that anymore. I was just talking to my friend yesterday. I was like, now I got over 1,000 people on LinkedIn. I was like, ooh, everyone's seeing it now. But it didn't start like that. It's going to start with you posting something and one person liking it. And that's all that's going to happen. But you got to keep on doing it. Get motivated. I'm going to make this game. I want people to see it. And so I kept making posts, kept making devlogs. And I started following recruiters. And some of them were nice enough to follow me back. So if a recruiter's just scrolling through LinkedIn, and they're like, oh, Valencia put a game out there. Oh, maybe I should tell the team. Fun fact, the UI artist I work with now knew about me through LinkedIn before I even started interviewing. The person I work with now at my job, who is an engineer, we did a game jam together before I even did my first interview. So again, networking, marketing, and posting myself on LinkedIn was very helpful. And that's what I'm going to keep saying, market. Market your stuff. A lot of engineers don't market. And I didn't do it for the first year because I was just scared. I was like, I don't want anyone to see it. And no one's going to see it because you're not posting it. And at first, no one's going to see it really then. But you keep on doing it, eventually, people are going to start seeing it. Keep on networking, people are going to start noticing. But it took years. So make sure you make posts on LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever social media you really want to use. I use LinkedIn because I know a lot of recruiters are there, and I want to get a job. Next slide. Finding a mentor and applying for jobs. Now I'm applying for jobs. Did you guys notice all those slides I did before I even started putting my first application? I finally started listening to my mentor. I've had several mentors. I had one at Google. I had one at Firewalk Studios. I had one at Xbox. I learned from several people. Because I don't think you should have just one mentor. I think you should have multiple perspectives. I mentor students now, and I do not want to be your only mentor. Please find other people. Because we only have one perspective. For example, at the Women Gamers Career Expo, one of my mentees came up to me like, hey, I need a mentor. I really want to talk to you. And I was like, yeah, I really delve in Uni. She had someone else tell her, like, you want me in AAA, get Unreal. And she was right. I don't know Unreal. I delved in Uni. If she wanted to make an Unreal game, I could help her to her best abilities, but she go to an Unreal mentor instead. Have multiple mentors. It's okay. Get multiple perspectives. We probably even know each other sometimes. Next, what's the first one? Yep. And like I said, the Foundation provided a mentor for me. That application is happening soon. I will post about it. You should follow me on LinkedIn, and so you can know about it. Yes, you already did. Mentor helped me learn about various game engineering jobs in the industry. Yeah, because like I said, I thought there was just a programmer. No, there are several different types of engineering. Next one. And I started practicing coding interviews and working with the mentors for practicing interviews, like I said earlier. So thinking about coding interviews, I actually bought this book called Cracking the Coding Interview. Yes, that book's amazing. It really did help me understand how coding interviews work. Here's a little tip about them. They kind of don't care about the right answer. They care about how you get to that answer and what was your thought process. Because every answer that I got to in my coding interview was basically wrong. And I was all like, but they knew what I was talking about. Another personal story of mine, wait just one second. Another personal story of mine was I was in the interview, nicely came straight out of an anime convention, took off my cosplay, put on professional workplace, like professional clothes, like I'm ready to interview. And so the senior director was like, hey, what is this in Unity? And I did not recognize the name. I was like, I honestly don't know, but this is what it sounded like. And because I gave him a definition, even though I didn't know the word, he still passed me. Because he's like, she knows what she's doing. She just didn't know the exact word. But I know she knew what she was doing. So again, that comes from studying and practicing. And I even got a book called Game Design Patterns and Game Programming Patterns. That came from years of me studying and practicing. And this was like in 2023. So this is me finally applying for jobs. Everything I saw before was in 2021, 2022. So like I said, I did a lot of work before I got into the game industry. And the reason why I could do all that work is because I didn't have a game industry job. I still had a job to help me pay the bills before I got into the industry. So I could be very picky about the company I wanted to work for. I could be like, if I didn't like you, I still have a job. I'm not that desperate to get in the industry. I still have something to pay my bills every day. All right, next one. And I applied for game jobs and game studio websites at conferences. I applied for jobs on the game studio websites and at the conference. I highly recommend, again, I found my company on Indeed, and I found them at the Game Developers Color. That's how I knew who they were somewhat. I was like, oh, you was at the Game Developer Color. And that was important to me because that means they sponsor and they care about diversity. I was like, yes, I like them. And meeting them and interviewing and talking to them at a conference was cool because that means I could talk to a recruiter right there, virtually. Again, this is all virtual, and be like, hey, I just applied. Here's my name. I'm not just another name you go throw into this is bucket. And you actually have seen my face and you know what I look like. And I try to make a good impression. So every time I applied to a job and I knew the recruiters at the conference, I connected with them. I was like, hey, I like to just talk to you for 15 minutes, talk about the job I applied for, talk about your day-to-day life. Just talk about it in general. I wasn't always asking for a job. I was asking just tips in the industry. Next slide. And follow the recruiters on LinkedIn. Like I said, I followed them, and sometimes they followed me back. I even got a lady from Rockstar to follow me. I was like, yeah. And it was really cool. Just they're people like you and me, so you should talk to them. It's okay. They just work in the industry. Next slide. All right, and then I did that rinse to repeat, all those steps over and over and over again. And eventually, next slide, I scored my first job in the industry last year. I got my first job in the game industry, and it was awesome. Next one. So I got an interview in August 2020. I actually looked up. It was like August and September. So next slide. And I applied for a mid-level position, but they liked my resume so much, and people at the company knew who I was, so they got me an interview. I did not apply for an associate job. I didn't know it was an associate job. All I did was look at the job description, knew I could do it. And I was like, I can do everything the description says. Who cares if it says entry level or not? And I may not have all the experience, and that's what I always tell people all the time. If you can do everything and you just don't have the experience, I suggest still apply. The worst they can tell you is no. And let them tell you no. Don't tell yourself no. So I was all like, I have everything but experience. And they would just... Say that again. For the people in the back, let the studio tell you no. Don't tell yourself no. You still put that application in there. I applied, a funny story again, I applied to this job to the tears again, rejected through Bungie. Now I look back and it's a good blessing in disguise. But I didn't get into Bungie. I talked to the recruiter and everything. I didn't get in. And so I was like, I'll just apply for this place called Alchemy Labs. Never heard of them, except that one time at a conference. And they had a job out there for a position that was mid-level. I wasn't mid-level, but I could do everything on the description. And I applied, and they were like, what is mid-level? We can't get you as mid-level, but we like your resume, and people at this company have heard of you. I all came together, and so we want to interview you. And next one, and it was a long interview process. I had to do a knowledge interview. Next one, had to do a code test, and I had to do a vibe check interview. And all this took about 5 months. So this was a very, very long interview process. And this goes back to what I said before. I had a job not in the game industry, so my bills were still getting paid. So I could afford to be picky. I could afford to take the time to do this because I was not worried like, oh my God, I need to be in the industry so badly. I recommend that to everyone. Get a job, kind of not in the industry, and then go into the industry later. It's so much better. I feel like it was a much smoother transition for me. All right. And then in May 1st, 2023, I got my job. I was an associate gameplay engineer. And thank you. But you're going to clap your harder for the next bullet point because next bullet point, I was promoted. I am now gameplay engineer number 1. So within a year, I was promoted, and I really do think because I spent all that time making games, I made 7 games before I applied for the game industry. I put 7 different game developers out there. I'm still working on them. Some are complete, some are not. I'm still working on them. And I was just all like, hey, I am going to make sure my application is on par. So even, like my manager told me, the only reason we're putting you as an associate because you don't have the game industry experience. As soon as you get the experience, you'll be promoted. And look what happened. So, because I had the experience in making games before I even applied. So, next one. And now, what I'm doing now in my journey, I'm getting back to the community. I think it's very, very important. Once you get in the game industry, give back to it. Because so many people want to get in. So many people just don't know how. If I wish I could give you this whole talk about all things I wish I knew when I was going into the industry. And the different ways I give back to the community. Next one. I started being a mentor to others who want to be in the industry. Shout out to my mentees. Woo, woo, that game is amazing. And I started being mentor to other people. There was so much I didn't know. And I was like, man, I bet some student out there really wish they knew what I do. Knew what I know. So I'm going out and I'm giving back to the community that helped me so much. I got in the industry because someone helped me, so I need to reach that hand back, especially at times like we're going through now in the industry. All right, and I'm the IGDA Alumni Coordinator. So that means people who go through the program that I keep talking about that is going to be scheduled over soon, who gets mentors. After you finish your mentorship, you come to me and we get more mentorship. So now I help people who want to be in the industry, who are even on mid-level, who are not seeing the industry, who just want to be part of the industry. I do events, I talk to people. Now I get to, for example, I'm now in the future class because of that. I get to go talk to executives. We're going to talk about this whole layoff thing. And because I have that ability now, and because someone helped me, I'm going to help people try to get into the industry more. And we'll keep reiterating that. So you should give back to the community once you get in the job. Don't just get in your job, do your 9 to 5, and clock in the day like, I'm in the industry, screw them people. Because there's a lot of people in the industry like that. And I was all like, I worked hard. They got to work hard too. I'm a little more generous than that. I think we should help each other. So, next slide. Yeah, I'm a Women in Games ambassador. Woo! I just got that this January. So, yes, I am ambassador for Women in Gaming because there need more of us in gaming. Woo, woo. And you guys want to be a part of me, you can always reach out. So, next slide. Hosting virtual game industry events and networking sessions. So now I host networking sessions virtually because, again, I was from a small town, Alabama, down, went to Columbus, Georgia. Now I'm in Atlanta, so there's more in-person stuff, but sometimes I just don't want to get up from my couch. You can do stuff virtually. I was like, sometimes I just don't want to get up from my couch. So I'm like, okay, let me just do stuff virtually. Let me still be part of the community. I do a lot of virtual stuff. You can do it, even if you're from a small area. All right. And yeah, going to talks about my experience in the industry, such as what I'm doing now. So I'm going to keep talking, giving back, talking about my experience, because I know it can help someone else. Now, and the journey continues. So now I attend various talks and give talks at conferences. Next one. And my journey is not your journey. You just heard my whole entire journey in the game industry. I'm going to tell you something. You're not going to get in the way I did. You can. You possibly could. But everyone's journey is different. I haven't talked to people that have the exact same journey in the game industry. And my journey is going to be way different than your journey, and it's okay. Because guess what? Next one. There's no template in the game industry. You can't just copy and paste someone else's stuff. I can help you. I can do my best, but I can't guarantee it's going to be the way you get in. You can find your own unique path, and trust me, you'll feel so much more calm that you did. And one day you'll be in my position talking about it to other people. Next slide. And I'm always talking about my life in the industry and doing coffee chats. So that's what I'm doing now in my journey. My gaming journey is not over. It's going to be over for a very long time. So I'm always willing to open up and talking to people. So all you guys have free reign to talk to me. Now, there is something. Yes, go to that one slide. There is something. There's an elephant. And you're like, why is there an elephant here? This is very left field. Well, there's an elephant in the room. And we're going to talk about the elephant in the room. I like to sit down, be on your level when we talk about this elephant in the room. So, next slide. The current state. Can you see me? All right. Can you see me? All right. Current state in the game industry. So, yeah, the game industry is not in a good state. Keep going. Let's look at some of the things that are going on. Yeah. Microsoft laid off 1,900 Activision and Blizzard Xbox employees. But then Destiny 2 developers Bungie lay off dozens of staff. EA lay off 5% of their workforce, about 670 employees. Sony lay off 900 workers. I remember the day it happened because I was in the future class. I think like a lot of people got affected. Like it was just, and then when your parties are on part organizations, there was people just constantly pinging me and be like, today is going to be hell. And I was all like, what's going on? It got to the point where I went to my CEO and be like, hey, Andrew. Again, this is take initiative. Not everyone's going to do what I do. I just went to the CEO. My CEO is how open door policy, and I was like, hey, this is happening. I'm scared about my job. Well, what's going on? And he was comforting. He talked to me about it, gave me the realest thing about it. And honestly, this studio is now helping me trying to help others and with mentorships. So, and of course, the impact of 16,000 industry layoffs in one chart, and this article specifically is about academia. A lot of students now are scared to get in the industry because of all what's happening. Now, you saw right there. My thoughts about the current state of the industry. It's a lot. Y'all heard about layoffs. It's happening. But look at all the steps I did before applying for a job. And I was an indie game developer for years before I applied for a job. There's a beauty in the game industry. You don't have to be working for someone. It's great to work for someone. Benefits are nice. It's great to work for someone. But you don't have to be working for someone to make games. You all have access to Unity. You all have access to Unreal. You all have access to all these beautiful engines that were not available for me when I was getting in there. Like Unity was. Shout out Dr. Bondo in class. But Unreal was kind of early stage, and I couldn't just go and make a game out there. I didn't know about game jams. I didn't know about other people making games. There are plenty of people making games who don't work in the industry. And having that portfolio and start working on your own game, working on your own ideas before you even apply, makes you more applicable anyway. So don't feel like I can't get in the game industry because of the layoffs. No, I'm not in the game industry because I work professionally in the industry. I was in the game industry in 2021 when I was making games and no one knew I was having my IT job on the side. You are in the game industry if you're making games and you are talking about it. Doesn't matter if you are getting paid for it or not. And so those are my thoughts in the current state of the game industry. Keep on making games and keep on networking with people and keep making new friends. Because what's the beauty about the game industry? You know, all these layoffs are happening. We are all trying to help each other. And my friend said the most beautiful thing when I was at GDC last night, look for the helpers. This is a very scary state of the industry, but I'll let plenty of people like me, like Andrew, like Bob, like Tiger Lily and Forrest, who want to help other people. That's why we're here giving these talks. We want to help you. So even though it's scary right now, there are people willing to help you get in the industry. Don't feel you have to give up on your dream because you do not. So please don't. Thank you, everyone. And I have a QR code. I am open for coffee chats. Talk to me. Connect with me. I will say yes. Just be like, hey, Valencia, I'm scared about everything. One student just did that yesterday. I'm scared about everything in the industry. Can we talk? And I just found 30 minutes in the day. I'll send you a calendar invite because I have a lot of people talking to me. And we can talk. So, yeah, that's me. I think there's a thank you slide at the end. I'll say just the end. And these are my resources. And that is my talk. You can go back to the Connect if people want to. All right. Thank you, everyone. Any questions?
And I'll give you some from chat first.
Oh, we have chat questions?
We have chat questions.
Oh, my gosh. I forgot there was a chat.
Number one question from chat. Some networking tips for game devs who use Charisma as their dump stat.
Okay, use Charisma as a dump stat. I know what that means. I just played Baldur's Gate. So, plan your networking. You can plan it. I did not constantly bother people all the time. But okay, today I'm going to connect to I'm going to message 5 people. If 2 apply or 1 apply, that's a win for me. And don't just say, hey, we're connected. Cool. Thanks. Bye. No, have a talk with them. Talk to them often. Ask about what they're doing. People love talking about myself. I talk about themselves. I love talking about myself. Ask about their day-to-day lives in the game industry. Because everyone's day-to-day is different industry. So when you network, be very intentional. It's about forming a relationship, not forming a transaction to get you a job.
Okay, remember that day-to-day different because that's the third question. Second question was, you're a gameplay programmer, but if someone wants to be a gameplay designer, do you have any different tips for them? And yes, we told them to go look at Forrest's video from an hour earlier.
So, gameplay designer, okay, remember the gameplay programmer, engineer? They do more programming than design. Switch it around. So, do some design, sit there and learn level design, there's actually different types of design. So, you can learn level design, you can learn character design, narrative design, system design. There are several designs. So, you got to be very specific when you say game designer. But you might not know what you are, because I didn't know what kind of programmer I was. So test them, try them out. Make games that specialize in something you want to design in. Join game jams. Like one time I joined a game jam as a programmer, other time I joined a game jam as a narrative designer. So, because I just want to know what kind of things I liked. Find out what you like, and once you find out what you like, again, be T-shaped, know several, but specialize in one. So that's my advice.
All right, let's go back to the question about all our days are different. What is a typical work day for you?
Ooh, so I get up in the morning. We'll actually go through my get ready with me. So I get up in the morning with nice Jujutsu Kaisen pajamas and my Chainsaw Man shirt, and I put my hair in a ponytail and be like, all right, I'm time for work today. And if it's like a weekday, I see we have a meeting today, and we don't have a meeting today, I jump on, and I start programming and testing the game. I see what's the current state of the game right now. I see what my task is, and I see what I got to do. So I read my task. I try to understand it. If I don't, I go to this lovely thing called Slack and be like, help! I don't know what I'm doing. And it's okay. That's why I say vet companies. At this company, it's okay to say that. I have shouted, I don't know what I'm doing several times. And for some miracle, they still promoted me. Shout out to the company. They might be watching right now. Okay, have a link to this. So shout out to Alchemy Labs. Woo, fellow owls. So basically, my day-to-day is either I shout to the ether, say I don't know what I'm doing, and then someone messages me. And they be like, oh, I know what you're doing. And then we talk. We have an instant meeting. We talk, we chat. And then I realize I know what I'm doing. And then I'm like, okay, cool, I played that task. But how can I make that task better? I'm all like, it's finished. I'm going to play test it with someone to make sure it feels good. We always play test. We play test constantly because we want to make sure something feels right, and especially in VR. We work in VR. If it doesn't feel right in VR, it can actually cause many issues like motion sickness. So we constantly have to play test. So I made it. I've got it done. If I still have time, how can I make it better? If I think it's pretty good, I ask, what's my next task? And I ask, what's my next task? I don't wait for my manager or my project manager to give it to me. I ask, hey, what do I have to do next? That's how I got promoted. Showing initiative, not just sitting there waiting. Show passion, show initiative, and that's how you get upper levels in the game industry. I hope that answers some of the chat questions.
We got another one. We'll let those go.
Hello.
Hello.
Great talk. So as a somewhat of an indie developer myself,
Developer.
I learned very early on that it seemed the more like extracurricular activities or networking or events or talks and stuff that I participated in, the more I was going to be able to almost solidify my career, or at least someone to listen for my game when it does get released. But that being said, I wanted you to just talk about your work life and time that you have to work on your game balance.
All right, so I can tell you about that. And balance is very important because I work full time. I'm a part-time grad student, and I'm an indie game developer with 3 side projects I'm currently working on. You're like, so how do you have time to even sleep? Like, even coworkers ask me that. Like, do you sleep, Lindsay? I'll be like, sometimes. And my work-life balance is there's this lovely thing called a calendar. So I live by that calendar. And in that calendar, there is stuff like hang out with friends, stuff like go play Baldur's Gate. I have like Friday night, I shut that computer off. There is no more meetings. There is no more talking. There is nothing but Persona and Baldur's Gate. And having those boundaries is very important. Not only for your work-life balance, but in case you do get into that company, they'll be like, oh, can you work like 2 extra hours? It gives you the boundary saying, nah. Because you got to set those boundaries, because as soon as the company can realize they can cross those boundaries with you, that's when you're in trouble. So the same boundaries in your work-life balance now, such as I'm not even touching my side project right now. That's like a special thing. Like for me, I'm a little more busy than usual because GDC is coming up, but as soon as GDC over, I'm not touching anything. I told all my teams, don't text me, don't talk to me. I'm not doing anything as soon as GDC is over because that's my boundary. And it's easy for me to do that with a company because I do it with my side projects I care about. So that's my suggestion. Set hard boundaries, use a calendar, and stick to it.
I guess I'm up. Valencia, that was great. That was really great. Your energy is like so awesome. So
Thank you.
But to your point about like the layoffs and all that, a lot of those are like from the higher like super high tier sort of, and then like you have all these like talented folks that are available now. Do you think that like the single A and double A sort of studios, like people will start opening their own sort of smaller studios?
I 100% agree with that. I think it's happening. Fun fact, you notice all these layoffs, like you said, come from AAA industries. I'm on LinkedIn. I've had a lot of indies. A lot of indie developers are hiring.
Like you had like Helldivers 2 come out, and Arrowhead Studios like out of nowhere.
Yeah. Lethal Company came out of nowhere.
They actually like they had to hire like some like Sony people to come help them out because they didn't have enough people. So I don't know. I just want to get your take on that.
Yes, I'm an indie developer. I low-key no want to be AAA because I really like what I do as an indie developer. I really like having that freedom. You'll meet other indie developers. You meet other people who support you. And the thing about indie developers, they're their own person. So they kind of ride or die with their game, which is true. But a lot of them need people, need help. Like I said, all those layoffs are happening, but how come all these indie developers are hiring? How come all these game studios that are AA hiring? So I just think it's going to happen where it is happening now. Like, for example, I tell people all the time, Baldur's Gate is an indie game. Baldur's Gate is not a AAA game. I need everyone to think of that. They do not have a publisher. It's just Larian Studios. An indie game won a Game of the Year, and it deserved it. So you can make awesome indie games. You can make amazing indie games. And so I think any industry is going to boom while the AAA industry is kind of going down a little bit. It'll come back. They always come back. You can never get rid of them. But I think, because what's going to happen is like, indie companies don't get big, and they'll become AAA. And they'll be the top tier people. I'm pretty sure EA didn't start like that. EA was starting pretty small, and then it became big. And then we'll get more indie developers. It's just a cycle. I don't think we're going to have like a game crash or anything like that. I think it's just going to be a cycle of new indies, new AAAs.
Very cool. Fun fact, I lost out in like the second round of interviews for voice director for Larian Studios after Divinity 2. It's okay, it could have been Baldur's Gate 3, I know. That's okay, it's okay.
They have a hard interview process from what I heard.
Yeah, like 4 or 5 interviews. But it was still cool that, again, I was in the room. You know what I mean? Just to be in the room says a lot. So speaking of being in the room, when it comes to, again, getting into the room, what are your best practices? I mean, these are fantastic, but what are your best practices for this year and moving forward? You mentioned GDC. Any other goals or best practices for this year?
Yes, I love GDC because it's huge and big, but it's also very expensive. I would not go GDC if it wasn't helped with the companies and that kind of stuff. I say local developers, virtual things. All my connections don't live in Georgia. A lot of my connections don't live in Georgia. Some are in California, some in New York, some are in Canada, some are in England. The person I work with the foundation is in Sweden. Virtual. It's free. You can just get on the internet. Well, the internet you got to pay for. But you can just get on the internet. And you can just get online and talk to people. So that is what I suggest. As doing game jam, like you're an amazing voice actor. So like if you ever have the free time, talk to the indie game. Hey, you need voice acting? Or even a game jam, you want voice acting? Actually, fun fact, I met one of the voice actors who voice acts the silliness in Hades. You can't talk about Hades 2, I tried. But he voice acted in Hades because he was voice acting in a game jam. Yeah. So he was doing something small, and I met him, I connected with him. Really cool dude. Shout out to you, Cyrus. And that's because they're giving back to the community. Absolutely. And that's how they find more work. Now he's making his own studio now. But because he gave back, talked to people, like don't just always take from the game. Just like, I got a job and screw you guys. Give back to it too, because karma does work. So, and what goes around comes around. When you ever get laid off, need help, someone's going to help you. So help the ones who need help right now. That's my question. Hope that answered your question.
Hi.
Oh.
I think I know what it means, so I want to ask you. Probably everybody knows, and if everybody knows, it will say, "Oh, he doesn't know," which is okay. Because I think I've been in that, but I never heard that name for it.
Double A?
No.
Interesting.
Vibe check interview.
Oh, vibe check interview. Yes. So that's the
How-
name I made up for it.
Hey, that's I want to hear what that means and how it go. How do you experience that vibe check interview?
So, the vibe check interview. I only know this because I went through it at Alchemy Labs I work at. I passed the coding test. I passed interview. Then the last thing they gave me was called a vibe check interview. Now it was called Meet the Owls. And if I felt that, I wasn't working the company. And basically what that was, are you a good fit for this company? Are you good culture for this company? Because you are interviewing a company too. Don't be like, oh God, I need a job. Yeah, this is why I say get a non-gaming job so you can be very picky. Do I fit with them too? Do we get along? And that vibe check interview was just us conversating. Like, what's your favorite VR game? What's your favorite game? What's your most anticipated game? Just seeing that you can talk as a person. Because a lot of things a lot of engineers are lacking is soft skills. Excuse my language, but when I was talking to my friends, she was like, sometimes the best coders are a-holes. And they don't want that because the game industry is very team-based. I would rather take someone I can work with and is not a jerk and I could talk to them than someone who's more experienced but doesn't want to talk to me and wants to be in a little corner. So please, that vibe check interview was just them checking, was I a good fit for the company? Because even though I passed all those knowledge checks and I knew everything on Unity, if I was not good for the company, it would have ended right there. So yes, the vibe check interview is basically to make sure are you a good fit for our company culture. I like the way they called it, vibe check. Yeah.
Yeah, and there are a lot of studies actually that prove this, especially in technical jobs. That one person, no matter how skilled, if they derail other people, really set the whole project back significantly. So yeah, this
And
is a
that's
very
for a video game.
yeah. This is very well known, especially among the HR folks. They'll always talk about this. You have to fit in. All right, so last question, since we're coming up on time. First of all, A King says, "Great job, Valencia." Light Chan 123 says, "This was awesome, Valencia."
Aww.
And we had another question, the great question. Before you got into the industry, when you're indie and you're working after work on games, how many hours or what was your schedule you used to make games after your day job?
Okay, I'm going to give you the honest answer, and I want you to not do it. I worked 8 hours after work. So I worked the full 8 hours, then I did 8 hours of working on an indie game. And then I had to cut it in half to 4 when I was doing 4 hours of grad studies and 4 hours of indie game. That's 16-hour days. Don't do that. I burnt out every 2 or 3 months. I was just passed out for a week because I kept working on my stuff. I suggest working on it on a much slower pace. Give a lot of time to it because in total I probably put 200 hours into making that stuff. I even applied for a job. So I spent a lot of time and a lot of dedication. But because I had a job not in the game industry, I could take my time. I just didn't. But I should have. I could take my time and get in. And I probably put a lot of work into it. My suggestion is spend about 4 extra hours every 3 days a week. That's healthy. That way you won't burn out and you still getting progress done.
All right. That's all our questions.
Yeah.
All right, thank
if
you,
you have more
Valencia.
questions, connect with me right here.
And thanks to all of you for joining us for SimFest. We'll see you again next year.
See you next year.